One of the other images that has come up is two spirits, and I want to say a little about this because this is such a basis of the trans phenomenon. This is an image from alchemy of the union of male and female in one physical body. That was sort of their idea of the goal of bringing male and female together, joining the opposites, the yin-yang. The sacred union between man and woman in coitus. But it also captures one of the ideas in modern LGBTQ spiritual thinking of the two-spirit. There is a notion in shamanic religions worldwide, and a particular interest to us in modern America, in Native American cultures, because they, on this continent, long before the Europeans came, had this idea that shamans experience the spirit of man and the spirit of woman, and are blessed with powers of healing and of vision. So Nelly men and butch women were understood to be spiritual guides. This blending of sexuality gave power. So here's an ad. I've got to put in an ad for the. You have to have ads in TV. I worked on this, collaborated on this novel with Walter Williams, of Two Spirits, which is about the Navajo. There was a period in Navajo history when they were imprisoned in a kind of concentration camp in New Mexico, Fort Sumner, and the reality is that a new Indian agent is assigned to because the Indian agent had been killed, and a new agent is assigned, and he comes to understand the terrible plight of the Indians, and through his intervention helps them get out. Walter's invention in the story is that perhaps this new Indian agent was a gay man, and discovered how to think about his homosexuality by seeing how the Navajos understood sexual variance. Neat idea, and possibly true. So this is a mythic theme that particularly resonates with the very current awareness of transgender issues and trans identities. Two-spirit people have spiritual powers. So here's a joke. It is not without meaning that Harris Glenn Milstead became divine. Herein is a pun and a clue. Yeah. Divine. So we're getting close to the end. The return bearing Boons. The hero is transformed by his or her experience and returns to the place where he started changed. He brings gifts, perhaps a treasure or a healing elixir or new wisdom. He has powers. The superpower heroes in myth are really reminders of our power to create and recreate the world of our experience. The trick is to recognize your power. Intend the world to be the way it should be, but resist nothing, embrace everything, joyfully participate in the sorrows of the world, play the game, contribute to the process in living, and live in such a loving way that your own life works and people love you and you love them, and events unfold smoothly around you. Put out good vibes. I want to say rather quickly here, the Campbell says the modern hero, the boon of the modern hero, is discovering the real meaning of religion, that it is metaphor. This is spoken of these days in this expression, spiritual, not religious. Or maybe spiritual, not necessarily religious, and not necessarily anti-religious. You can be religious. The churches do good work. But in order to be religious today, you've got to understand it from a higher perspective. Taking all of this stuff literally, the way I fear so many of those people in this church around the corner over here, the Christian fundamentalists, lose the real meaning of what religion is about. Because they've gotten it down to an historical event that happened 2,000 years ago, and they're still trying to keep Jesus as, pie in the sky buddy. What is evolving in consciousness and culture today is an awareness that these legends and myths and religious doctrines are really all about the mind. The modern hero has to discover his own oneness with the creative power that has been mythologized as God. This isn't necessarily to deny God, but to say that we can relate to God from within rather than through an anthropomorphization projected outwards. It's mystical, not objective. And in this way, all of the religions can coexist. There's this wonderful bumper sticker now that we see. And we realize that for this to work, we get to create our own religions. The truth in the religions is metaphysical. The truth in the religions is metaphorical more than historical or metaphysical. The truth of a religious doctrine is measured in the positive transformational power it holds for believers, not facts about events in the past, or metaphysical structure, or what's written in scriptures or ancient texts. It's what he does for you. Campbell expressed this in a wonderful way. The retort, the accusation was made to him that he was an atheist because he believed in all the religions. And so his answer was, anyone who believes in as many gods as I do can hardly be called an atheist. Though clearly, you can understand how if all the gods are true, then none of the gods are true. And this is a kind of atheism, or non-theism, to use the Buddhist expression. Because religion really isn't about God out there, it's about you in here. And I think that we help bring this discovery to the world. This is an insight that saves us. It's very helpful for us as we're growing up as religious. And gay men particularly, I think, tend to grow up religious. And there's a whole discussion of why that might be. And then we have to make sense of it. And to realize that we can make up our own religion is a great liberation. And it's why I've ended up with my claim to be Joseph Campbell's apostle to the gay community, because I think our community needs to learn this message that we can throw out the stuff you don't want, choose the stuff you do want, and from whatever religion you want. You can make it up. This is the boon the gay individual hero, see they're happy and they're happy, brings home to him or herself. And this is a kind of enlightenment. Because sexual and gender issues raise the consciousness of the whole society, our issues force religion to grow and evolve. Everybody in America now gets exposed to the contradiction between enforcing one ancient biblical taboo against homosexual sex while ignoring all the myriad of other outdated taboos in that same text. Everybody has to notice how crazy it sounds to blame hurricanes on homosexuals, or how contradictory God hates fags is to Jesus' teaching about loving your neighbor, treating others as you would have them treat you, and to the great founding American tenet that all are created equal and endowed with the right to pursue happiness. Gay rights, trans rights, women's rights, these all challenge religion's legitimacy. And the religions have to adapt and evolve to become more inclusive, and that's good for them. Christian de la Huerta, who has written a couple, or a very specific book, Coming Out Spiritually, which was very groundbreaking in the genre, speaks about the various gay roles, and one of them is what he calls catalytic transformers. Our experience changes the larger society. Certainly one of the things that has happened is that people are more free about sex and to be free and more authentic. We see this in this metrosexual idea that straight men can now be a little gay without having to be homosexual. They can be gentler. They don't have to fear appearing gay and can be more accepting. I want to mention, just by the way, that part of what we are doing then is transforming the meaning of being gay. And there's this wonderful book. Some of you have read this, I think. I saw you have a copy, and Bob mentioned he has read it. Gay Men in the New Way Forward by Raymond Rigoglioso. The book is about what he calls the 14 distinctive gay traits the gifts. I'm not going to go through these because we've run out of time, but this is an interesting book, and I wrote the foreword to it, so I'm going to push this book too a little ahead. The gist of my foreword, by the way, is what we call, that this is what we call, well, in the 60s was called revolution through consciousness change. The way to change society is to change how we think, because that's the only thing that you can change is yourself. And if you see how homosexuals changed how we thought about ourselves from the 50s to the present, it is just tremendous. And we did it by changing how we thought about ourselves. They didn't do anything for us. We did this by revolution through consciousness change. So the hero slays the dragon. The demon the gay hero must conquer is homophobia. Internalized homophobia causes us to hate ourselves as homosexuals and to discount our powers. Externalized homophobia, though you don't hear that expression, is what the Jungians call the shadow. It's homosexuals disapproving and hating other homosexuals and gender-variant people. What we hate and are ashamed of in ourselves, we project onto others and hate it in them and blame them, not ourselves, for it. You really see this in Donald Trump. Everything he says is projection. Everything that he says about other people is what is true about himself. He's the one who is lying, and he says Hillary is lying. This is so human, but you gotta recognize it. In the book Shift Your Mood, psychotherapist and mindfulness teacher Rik Isensee, who is a gay man, a gay therapist in San Francisco, writes of what he calls the golden shadow, meaning that we can reverse that shadow. We can recognize the good qualities in others that we see as good qualities of ourselves, and we know we have them because we can see them and recognize that goodness in somebody else. And this is a reason not to hate ourselves or to hate other people, because we see goodness. And we can project our own goodness out onto others, intentionally giving them the benefit of the doubt that we would hope others would accord to us, not making other people wrong and seeing in them the good qualities we want in the world. We can see God in other people. And that's this expression, namaste. I want to read one last thing, and this is a quote from Isensee, and this is the end. He's talking about mindfulness practice, which is being aware of what's going on, meditation or just being aware, being conscious. But it's true bigger than this. As your stories of who you think you are drop away, you discover that you are awareness itself. You are Christ consciousness. You are a realized Buddha. You are Brahman, Atman, Kuan Yin, Mary, the Tao, nature, or the Great Spirit. Tattvamasi, this is an expression in Hindu wisdom. Thou art that. And so is everyone else. All the various names of God can be understood as metaphors or expressions of consciousness, wholeness, and being. They come from many different traditions and serve as an approximation of that ineffable quality, a finger pointing toward the moon. Humanity's various attempts at expressing the essence of who you actually are. Ah, yes, this is who I am in this moment. I am that wholeness, stillness, or even a fireball of energy. This is home, the unconditioned, the inner sanctuary, the freedom to be as I am. At the same time, to see clearly that separation is an illusion. We are all connected in a vast web of life and buzzing energetic motion. I can learn to trust in my own responsiveness through a compassionate acknowledgement of others. You are the source of love. You are the source of wisdom. You already are what you are seeking. My own expression for that is that the goal of all spiritualities is to experience being in heaven now. Heaven isn't there, it's here. It's here. If you wait for it to be there, you're going to be dead. So get it now. This is the cover of one of my books, Gave Perspective. So, bravo.
Yeah. Thank you for listening.